Welcome to Math Mini Lessons. My name is Sarah, your math coach for today, and let's jump into today's lesson. Math Marbles, today we're going to learn how to translate a double number line into an equation or a proportion. And we're going to do that so we can be able to find a percentage or a part of a number. And that means we're going to ask ourselves big questions. How do we even represent a percent using a model? And then how do we translate that model into a strategy that will help us find a part of a number? All right, you're going to hear me say certain words a lot in today's lesson, like percents. We know percents are ratios out of 100, and the word percentage. And that just means a portion or a share of the whole number. And we're also going to talk a lot about proportions. We're going to think about parts and wholes of numbers and really figure out how they're proportional to a percent and use that proportion to actually find a missing number. And that sounds like a lot. It's going to make so much sense when I show it to you. These are the things you absolutely need to know for today's lesson. The first one, in our criteria for success, we need to be able to convert the percents to decimals, especially if you use our second strategy for today. I can't wait to show you it. The second thing we have to be able to do is identify the unknown in equation. So you're going to see me really read problems carefully, annotate, and see what's there and what's not there. And usually there's either going to be a percent, a part, or a total. You're going to have two, one is going to be missing. And finally, we're going to calculate the unknown using these two strategies, a proportion or an equation. So let's jump into today's models. You're going to see me model both, and you're going to pick the one that works best for you. Okay, we're going to jump into our first model, and we're going to keep everything in our criteria for success in mind. How we're converting decimals. We're going to try and figure out what's the part we don't know. That means we're going to get 2 out of 3 of these. We need 2 to figure out what the unknown is. And then we're going to find the unknown using 2 ways, either a proportion or an equation. All right, so let's jump right in and read this problem so we can figure out what's given and what's not. 30% of a number is 24. What's the original number? So I'm already getting a percent. So 30% of some number is 24. And I have to really think for a minute, what does the 24 mean? And this is where my double number line really helps. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my 30% here on the bottom because these are my percents. And up here are my numbers. And I'm gonna just talk through and think aloud. It says 30% of some number is 24. So the 30% is 24. 30% of something is 24. That means that they're proportional. So I'm gonna put the 24 up top. And that means I'm trying to figure out what that number is. Okay, what my total is. That's what it's telling me because it's equal to 100%. There are 2 ways I can figure this out. One method is gonna be a proportion, and the other one is going to be with an equation. I'm going to start with the proportion first because that seems to be the one that connects mostly to my visual proportion, since I can't spell it. And on the one proportion, I'm going to set this proportion to this proportion, okay? So 24 of over some number is equal to 30 out of 100. And now that I have this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just cross multiply because this will turn this into an equation I can actually solve. So I'm going to go this way first, and 30 times n is equal to 30n, and 24 times 100 is just 2400. And again, I just want to isolate this variable, so I'm going to just divide by 30 on both sides so that I get this n by itself. That's my goal. And the reason I'm dividing is, think of it as these 2 are connected by multiplication, so I want to separate them using just division. And I can use a calculator for this, but I'm going to do it in my head. 2400 divided by 30 is equal to 80. And so that is my original number. My original number is 80. Now, so that's method 1. Another method I can use, and I'm going to put it over here, method 2, is I can just use an equation in one step. And here's the equation I use. Percent of a number is going to give me a part. okay? So I'm just putting in what I know. 30% of some number, so I know it's gonna be multiplied times a number, I don't know what that number is, pretend like I'm starting up again, is equal to 24. So it is kind of looks like an equal sign to me. All right, and now that I have that, this is where I'm going to need that first step of just, again, turning this into a decimal by going 1, 2. So to the left, 2 times to make it 0.30 times n. So 0.30 n is equal to 24. And then I'm going to use, again, I can use my calculator for this. You're going to divide both of these by 0.30. And when you do that, you're going to get n is equal to 80 on your calculator. Try it out, and you can actually do that. 24 divided by 0.30. So I'm going to stop here, hit pause, and take 1 minute to copy down these two methods into your notes. Okay, a minute is over. Let's go to the second example. We're going to do the same thing. I'm leaving the CFS there for you on the side so you have it. I'm going to jump right into my problem. And again, I'm going to use the same two methods. So I'm going to just split this down the middle. And I'm going to use a proportion on one side, proportion. And on this side, I'm going to use an equation. So you have them both. All right, starting off, Saeed earns 4.25% on her savings account. She has $64 in her savings account. What is 4.25 of 64? Okay, so again, I'm gonna jump right in. You can use your model if you'd like. Let me move down the proportion just a little bit. So I have 4.25%. So that's from the problem. And I know she has $64 in her savings. And I want to know what is 4.25 of 64. So I know that the 64 must be the entire piece. And I'm trying to figure out this number over here. Okay, so if you're setting up a proportion, you're going to start by doing some number over 64 is equal to 4.25 over 100. And for this one, you are absolutely going to need your calculator. So just have it handy and ready. And I'm going to cross multiply, and you can use yours to help validate. So I'm going to multiply 64, going in first, 64 times 4.25, and I'm getting 272 is equal to 100n. And now I'm going to divide both of these by 100, and I get n is equal to 2.72, and I'm talking about money here, so this is $2.72. And I'm going to try it the other way now, just so we also have it as an equation. And remember, for our equation, I have a percent times the whole number. This is the total, is going to give me my part. All right, so I have 4.25 times, in this case, I have the number 64, is equal to some number. And it's a straight multiplication question, so I'm going to do that over here. But the first thing I'm noticing is I left the 425 or percent. I can't do that. So again, you're going to move this decimal 2 times, and you're going to need a placeholder. So let's do that first. 0.0425 times 64. So 0.0425 times 64. And it's also going to give you the same thing, 2.72 equals n, so $2.72. So I'm going to again hit pause so you can jot this down. Take 1 minute. I hope you're noticing that you can choose any method you like. If the proportion makes the most sense to you, use it. If the equation makes more sense to you, use it. And you'll probably have to use your calculators. If you're using your proportion, just remember that you want to make sure that what you're setting up in the proportions are in the right places and that you're getting your final answer at the end. If you're doing your equation, just remember that your percent has to be changed to a decimal before you multiply. So that way you can actually multiply. I'm like, I almost forgot to write in this little percent sign, and that would have given me an entirely different answer. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking, hit pause so you can jot this down into your work.